and welcome to day 2 of our 12-day little bit of spicy mobility, spicy yoga. Again, the blocks, if you have them, super handy to have. If you don't need them. And this time we'll begin in a shavasana, laying on our backs. And we'll take the soles of the feet to touch. Hands can be out to the side, or maybe they rest on the low belly. Giving yourself a moment to fall into the space. Feeling the gentle pull of gravity on your knees as they gently splay outward. And try to find a little bit of subtle space and length from the bottoms of your earlobes to the tops of your shoulders. A subtle movement, tractioning the neck outward. If your hands on your belly, feeling the natural movements as you inhale and exhale, that natural buoyancy. Maybe now starting to count the breath, if that helps you. Maybe you count 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out, or maybe you just feel or allow it to feel more even. Now gently grab the outsides of your knees and guide them to face upward. Place the feet about hip-width distance apart and just take a little windshield wiper of the knees from side to side. When they're over to the right, stay. Press the outer edge of the right shin into the ground and the inner edge of the left foot into the ground. Seeing if you can slightly pull the left knee forward in space while simultaneously trying to root down through the left glute. Now begin to shift to the other side, but do this segmented. So start by lifting the left knee up towards the ceiling, pivoting on that strong foot. And then only lift the right knee away from the ground until it absolutely has to. Pause in the middle, the outside edges of the feet pressing into the ground. Feel that opening in the legs. Ooh, maybe a cramping in the hip. And then begin to shift the weight over to the left-hand side, dropping both knees down. First the left knee connects, and then the right knee shifts forward and down. So we're just in this 90-90-ish position on the other side. Begin by pressing the outer side of the left leg nice and strong into the ground. And then tractioning the right knee forward in space while simultaneously rooting down through the right hip. Press the inside edge of the right foot into the ground. So we have this really active internal rotation. I sometimes like to wiggle this right foot out towards the right a little bit, have a more of a wider base. That can kind of help you feel that internal rotation a little bit more. Then start by lifting the right knee up towards the ceiling. Nice and slow. And then only lifting the left knee away from the ground when it absolutely has to. Pause in the middle. Press the outside blade edges of the feet nice and firm into the ground. And then drop over to the right hand side for the last time. Maybe you slide the left foot a little bit closer over to the left hand side so you widen that base. And then again, pressing the outside edge of the right leg into the ground, flexing both of the feet. Tractioning the left knee forward and down. And then begin by lifting the left knee up towards the ceiling, feeling that rotation in the hip, pausing in the center, nice press of the outside blade edges of the feet into the ground. And then the last time over to the left hand side, maybe adjusting where that right foot is. Really just trying to get into the right hip. And then right knee up towards the ceiling, peel yourself through that center butterfly position and pause. And then press the soles of the feet together in this wide diamond shape. Maybe hands on the ground, or maybe you just leave them on the belly. Doesn't really matter. Maybe they're off to the side a little for balance. You're going to press the soles of the feet into each other so much that the hips lift, just slightly. Kind of like you're in a glute bridge position. You're pressing the soles of the feet into each other, but also into the ground. You're feeling that lift in the glutes. We hold for 2 breaths. One more. Last inhale, see if you can get the hips up a little bit higher. And then exhale to lower the glutes, gently guide the knees back towards midline and take a more passive windshield wiper of the knees from side to side. More to lubricate the hips and less to find immobility. And hug the knees in towards the chest, knee towards right armpit, left knee towards left armpit. Feel that little squeeze. And then maybe you give yourself a little bit of rocking up and down the spine until you come over your knees and in a tabletop position. Shifting the weight back and forth, opening up the wrists and the bottoms of the feet. And eventually finding some stillness in the center. We work with some cat and cows, but we're adding a little bit of a circular spin on it. So tip the tailbone up towards the ceiling, drop the belly, pull the chest through the arms, pause. And then shift the ribs over to the left-hand side, like you're making a rainbow shape through the body. And then nice and slow, swing the chest through center, and then push the hips over to the right-hand side. Still feeding into that arched spine. Bring the chest through center, ribs over to the left-hand side. And now push through the arms as you hollow out the back through cat pose, pausing in the center. And then keep that arch in the back, that rounded spine. And then jet the ribs over to the right-hand side. Still in your cat pose. And then melt the chest towards the ground as you find an arch to the spine, move through center. One more going that same way, ribs over to the left-hand side, pause in your arched spine. And then puff up through the spine, push the hands into the ground, peel your way through center, find cat pose. And then jet the ribs over to the left-hand side, then melt the chest towards the ground, find center. 2 more going the other way, but nice and slow, just like that. Keep the arch back, the cow pose. I realize I say arch for both cat and cow. I hope that's not confusing. And then jet the ribs out to the right-hand side. Keep the arch. And then puff up through the upper back as you round and roll. Pause when you're in the center in that cat back. Hollowed out front line of the body. Then jet the left ribs over to the left-hand side. And then drop the chest, scoot the belly through center. One more time, over to the right. Puff up through the back, find that roundness, pause in the center, and then keep going, left ribs, reach towards the left-hand side, and then scoop the chest down. Tuck the toes, hover the knees. And then glide the hips back to your downward facing dog. Giving yourself a minute, feet nice and wide. Nice bent knees. Pedal out through the feet. Give a really nice generous bend to the knees. Heels are working towards the ground. Gaze is either to the belly button or to the thighs. 2 more breaths. Last one. Big toes come to touch. Hover the right foot in your down dog, and then send it back behind you, 3-legged dog. Pausing, feeling that closed off feeling between the hips, like the inner thighs are spiraling towards each other. Keeping the leg nice and straight and the arm strong. Now open the hip like you're stacking right hip on top of left. Keep the leg straight. Find that mobility within the hip to keep yourself stable here. And then close off the hip. 2 more times. Open, peel the right hip on top of the left. The chest can spiral, that's fine. And then close the hip. 1 more time. Open. Exhale, close. And then bend the right knee. Come up high onto the left toes, roll forward, step the right foot between the hands. Keep the back leg lifted as you roll up to your high lunge. Scoop the arms out and up. Reaching the fingertips high for the ceiling. Trying to find a little bit of calm, even though your legs are shaky. 2 more breaths. The legs are scissoring towards each other. Find a little bit of a posterior tilt to the spine. Last inhale. And exhale, lower down the back knee. Interlace every finger except for the first one, finding arrow mudra. And then lift the shoulders up towards the ears. Bend over to the right hand side. Find that posterior tilt in the pelvis. You're pressing evenly between big toe mound, pinky toe mound, and heel of the right foot. 1 more breath. Really reaching. I lied. We'll do 1 more breath here. Squeeze the left glute. Keep this twist, but bend, and then gather the hands towards heart center, and then twist. Now lean forward and see if you can hook the left elbow to the outside of the right thigh. No worries if you can't quite get there. Maybe you grab the thigh, give it a little bit more room so you can find that little hook. 2 more breaths. Engage through the core. Now, option to stay here. If you want to challenge for the last 2 breaths, you can pop up on that back knee. Crown of the head is working forward, finding length down the spine. Now keep this twist as best as you can. Unravel your body, but keep turning towards the right hand side. And then we're going to drag the left knee forward and off to the right hand side, threading the legs so you're in this seated twist. You can always bring a block to help support your hip if you're finding you're quite far off the ground. And we're just going to hug that leg in towards the chest. If you're like, I can do a little bit more, maybe you hook the elbow. But wherever you are, the crown of the head is reaching tall. You're stamping down in the right foot, which is why it's so crucial to find that sense of rooting in the hip, because you don't want that right foot to spill and lose that connective chain. You want that right foot nice and strong, pressing into the ground. So wherever you are, nice tall spine on the inhale and nice strong twist on the exhale. Inhale, spine tall. Exhale, twist. Inhale, spine tall, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, twist. Imagine you're trying to get your bottom left rib to wrap around and tap your right hip crease. One more. Come back to face forward. Take this right foot, pick it up, and then place it behind you, adjusting your legs so you're in this 90-90 position. Both feet are flexed towards the face, the knee. The left knee is in front of the left hip. The right knee is to the side of the right hip. Come up nice and tall and tension fingertips. Find a tall spine, and then keep that length as you fold. Trying to stay heavy in the right hip, though it may lift. Keeping that sense of broadness across the chest. One more breath. Inhale to come all the way back up. Plant the hands and adjust yourself so you're in a tabletop. Tip the tailbone up towards the ceiling, pull the chest between the arms. Knees hover as you press through the balls of the feet. Glide the hips back to your downward facing dog. Take a moment, pedal out the toes and the heels, bending into the knees. Maybe you shake the head, yes and no. And then big toes come to touch. Left foot hovers. Then peel it back into your three-legged dog. Right knee is bent to any degree, doesn't matter. Trying to keep the left leg as straight as you can though. And then stack the left hip on top of the right, peeling the hips open. The chest can spiral, doesn't matter. Trying to keep as much of a bend in the right knee as you need to get the heel onto the ground, but it doesn't matter if it does. And then close off the hip. Exhale. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. Inhale to open. Taking the whole breath to get there. Exhale to close. Bend the knee. Come up high onto the right toes, shift it forward, and step between the hands. On an inhale, ride yourself all the way up. Arms reach up overhead. Find your high lunge. Bring a bend into the back knee. As much as you need to tuck the pelvis under you a little bit. Your thumbs are pressing backwards in space, and then press the shoulders down. Feel that broadness in the upper back as you try to wrap the outside edges of the armpits forward. The legs are scissoring together. 2 more breaths. Last inhale. Exhale, lower down onto the back knee. Interlace every finger except for the first. Lift the arms up out of their sockets, then lean over to the left-hand side. Squeezing the right glute to keep you stable, but also to intensify the stretch in the psoas. If your toes are tucked under you, press the ball of the foot onto the ground, and if they're not, press the top of the foot into the ground. You just want to close that chain. 2 more breaths. Now keep that twist. Gather the hands to heart center, and by twist I mean bend. Keep the bend and now twist. And try to hook the right elbow to the outside of the left leg. Maybe you shimmy your way in there a little bit more. And then press the left hand down into the right. Dragging the left hip back in space. Crown of the head reaches forward. The twist comes from the core. Feel that resistance of tricep into knee and knee into tricep. Then release the arms. Try your best to keep that little bit of a twist as you shimmy the knee forward. Find yourself into a revolved seat. Maybe you place the block under your hip. Crown of the head is high, weighing down through the tailbone, especially the left glute. It also might not touch, but doesn't matter. What matters more is getting this left foot nice and firmly on the ground. Maybe you peek over the left shoulder. Think about wrapping the bottom right rib over to kiss the left hip crease. Now turn to face forward. And exhale, take this left leg and shift it back behind you so you're in a 90-90 position. Readjusting your alignment, right knee in front of right hip, left knee to the side. Come up on tented fingertips, find a tall seat. Pressing through the inner side of this left leg and the outer side of this right leg. We find that external, internal rotational push. And as you exhale, find your fold. Keeping a long spine. Thinking about drawing the navel inward. Feeling broad across the chest. Three more breaths. On your next inhale, push yourself back up to a seat. Press the hands into the ground and take yourself back into a tabletop. Tip the tailbone up towards the ceiling, drop the belly. Inhale, pull the chest through the arms. Press through the balls of the feet. Exhale, glide the hips back. Find your downward facing dog. Paddling out the feet a little bit. Then come up high onto the toes, look forward, and take little steps, one by one, until you get to the top of the mat. Nice and slow. When the feet are on the outside of the hands, lower the hips. Maybe you place a block underneath the hips, or not, doesn't matter. Hands to heart center, crown of the head high and tailbone heavy. Pressing elbows into knees, knees into elbows. Tented fingertips find the mat. Send the hips high. Find a halfway lift. Keep the feet nice and wide. Place the left hand on the ground in front of the face, suctioning up through the fingertips towards the palm. Draw the right hand into a fist. Bend the knees a little bit and drive the right hand up towards the armpit. Find that twist like you're drawing a bow. Elbow jutting up towards the ceiling. Engage through the core. And maybe you release the right fingertips up towards the ceiling. 2 more breaths. Maybe your gaze is up there too. And exhale to lower. Find a halfway lift, both fingertips on the ground. And then exhale to fold. Hollow out the low belly. And pull yourself inward using your biceps. Find a halfway lift. Right hand underneath the face on your fingertips. Left hand balls into a fist, little bend to the knees. And then pull the left arm or the left fist towards the armpit and use that effort to twist over to the left hand side. Plug the right hip back in space. Keeping the spine long. Then exhale, maybe you release the left arm up. One more inhale. Exhale to lower the arm, find your half lift. Inhale, spine is long. Exhale, fold in. Finding some balance, not working too hard to pull yourself into a deep fold, but not allowing this to be entirely passive either. 2 more breaths. Inhale to find a half lift. Exhale to sink the hips down. Find your Malasana. A little shift side to side. Lubricate the hips. And then hollow out the front line of the body. Use your arms or not to find your way all the way onto your bum. Soles of the feet find the ground. Hollow out the body and take your time to lower all the way onto your back. Keep the left leg bent and the foot on the floor, and just reach the right toes up towards the ceiling. Grab somewhere down the back of the leg. Root down through the right hip. Maybe you take a few little pulses, nice and controlled pulses, letting go of the stretch and then guiding the leg in, then backing off, and then drawing it in. All the while keeping the toes flexed back towards the face. 3. Follow the breath. 2. 1, and switch. Keeping the core engaged, shoulders away from the ears, nice and relaxed. 3 more. Then release that foot towards the ground. Reach the arms up overhead. Really stretch. And then grab opposite elbows. Keep the feet on the floor and lean over to the left-hand side. Keep pulling the right hip forward in space. Draw yourself back up through center. Lean over to the right-hand side. Draw the left hip forward. And the left elbow up overhead. Come back through center and let it go. Finding your way into Shavasana. Letting go of any control you had over the breath. Feeling length through the spine. And I, of course, encourage you to stay in Shavasana as long as you need. But with that, I will leave you at the end of our day 2. And I hope you enjoyed our little flow. Namaste.